So, you were in jail.
Yes,
So was I.
many times.
What was the longest?
6 years, six.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I know guys that I was with guys that did 20, 25 was one of my bunkies. And then I've also went back to volunteer, and we're in there volunteering with guys that were never getting out. So the 6 years was well worth it. I got to live again.
Yeah. So tell me the pre-story first. Tell me what was. Start at the beginning.
Sure.
Peter.
I mean, hey, I'm not one of these people that can say, oh, I was traumatized or abused or my parents were awful people. I mean, we had our woes. We weren't financially, we weren't upper echelon living, but my parents were together, and then they did get divorced. But I'm not really sure that any of that caused me going down the wrong road. What I really attribute it to mainly was it certainly was a lack of guidance and a lack of fatherhood. Although he was there for a while, I had no one teaching me how to deal with life. And one thing that disturbed me very often was my ability to fit in. It just was absent. My thoughts raged even at an early age, negative, conflicting. It made me feel very weird. It made me feel alienated from those around me. It caused me to act out in ways that now I see was the uncomfortableness, if that's a word, in my own skin. Also, with no one guiding me, and then that not fitting in, it really built for a dangerous recipe in my life, because now I had these weird, crazy thoughts that I now know are perfectly normal, and everyone has them. And also this desire to fit in, and I was the crazy one. I would do anything for attention. I was, you know, very early age fighting, getting suspended, cursing, involved in the darker side of New Jersey where I grew up. And yeah, I mean, ultimately that's going to lead to what it led to. And for me, it led to dealing drugs at first. It was not a user. My first criminal enterprise was dealing drugs. I grew up in Bridgeton, New Jersey. It was a very popular pastime there. I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be able to go to the places where I normally wouldn't be accepted, being who I was and what I looked like. So I put on that tough exterior. I pretended to be someone who I wasn't. Anything to make the crowd like me, I was crazy, think I was tough. My whole life was based on a perception of like what I thought people thought about me and how I thought they expected me to behave. I was not me. I didn't know who I was. So everything was a show. Everything was fake. Everything was fraudulent. I wanted to be accepted in these circles, but being from a lower income household, I also wanted some money.
Right.
So I started dealing, the same way that addiction manifests, the addiction to power will. So first it was marijuana, then it was selling pills, then it was selling cocaine. And it just went up and up and up, meth, and all these different things, new ways to find money. I delved into the criminal enterprise in southern New Jersey, where it was fur coats and cigarettes and air conditioners and gambling and sports bets. And man, I gained power and accolade there that I never knew before. And it caused me even more woes for the momentary pleasure that I had in the happiness and the women and the jewelry and the money. At night, you're still dark. At night, you're still alone, and it's just you and God, and there's no one there to co-sign your BS. There's no one to tell you that what you're doing is righteous, and deep in your soul that something's wrong, and you don't want to hear this voice. You don't want to hear it at all. So what you do is you start dabbling with the things that you're dealing to shut up the voice inside, to make you be able to sleep, even though you shouldn't be able to, because your actions are absolutely abhorrent. And the guilt and the shame and the embarrassment that you feel that of just doing bad in the world, it would keep you up at night, but not when you drug, not when you drink, not when you party with promiscuous women. Everything is to blind you, to take you out of reality, to shut that voice up that's telling you you're living foul. So when you start to break that cardinal rule of dealing and start dabbling in your own product, here's the next thing that's going to happen. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to make a mistake, and that's where the incarcerations come in. And there was multiple of them before I started figuring this thing out.
Getting arrested is a horrible feeling, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So there's multiple. There's multiple arrests, and then finally there's a 6 year stint. 6 years is enough to break you the
It
opposite
was
way.
me, yes.
Well, anybody. When I went to the longest I went to jail 2 times for the same thing. The longest I did was 6 weeks, but the second time I went was COVID,
Yeah.
and and it was just like the start of COVID when everything was crazy,
Yeah.
and so the guy, the guy that I went in the van with to go there, he had a fever, so they thought I might have COVID. They never tested me, but they thought I might have COVID. So they put me, this was like at the absolute height of it. They put me on my own block, not my own cell, my own block for 2 weeks. So like no human contact for 2 weeks. So it was solitary. And
Yeah.
yeah, and 2 weeks I found a loose screw on, they had. See, you laugh because you know, right? I
Yeah.
found a loose screw, and I'm like, every night I'm rubbing it against my wrist, like, dude, I can. By then, my family kind of knew that I was in there. I was not in there rightfully. I was in there wrongfully, and so but I'm like, so it wasn't like I'm gonna take my life for them so that they don't have to live through this nonsense. I'm like, it's gonna take my life for me because it made me crazy, and that was only 2 weeks. What survived, and you didn't have the skill set that you have now. How'd you get through 6 years?
Well, there's okay. First of all, it depends where you are in the world as to like how you're going to survive. Because I could sit here and say that there is an unspoken rule that I think really applies almost anywhere. But I also know that there are certain areas of the world that are much more dangerous and have much more very violent gangs. I mean, not that we didn't have them in Camden, New Jersey, and Northern State, and Bayside, where I was at. We certainly had them, but they operated a little bit differently. And the rule did certainly apply to me where I went. And that was I went in and I kept my mouth shut. I worked out every day. I focused on, getting better. Well, let's take through the process first.
Yeah.
When I first started getting incarcerated, I behaved like I behaved on the street. That's why it took the 6 years of the breaking point for me to jail in a way that I'm going to explain that kept me safe.
Okay.
Because in the very beginning of me jailing, I was not safe at all. I was in Camden County, New Jersey, and I went to a unit like you just spoke of, except it was not for sicknesses. It was just for anybody coming off the street. You spend 2 or 3 weeks with there. They process you, and they put you where you're assigned to be, and it's a very horrible, awful, nasty place. But I went in there loudmouth. I went in there with something to prove. I went in there with a chip on my shoulder. I went in there. I'm this big tough guy from the street. You don't know me. You don't know who I know, and this is how it's going to go down. And sure, I did that, but also fighting almost every week, gambling, getting contraband, using drugs in the facility, using every excuse in my book. Hey, it's only me. I'm only hurting myself. Biggest lie any addict's ever told. You're hurting everyone that ever loved you. I'm just going to skate through my time and use these drugs until I get out. But here goes another cardinal rule of jail. If you can't stay sober in jail, you're never going to stay sober on the street. No matter what excuse you try to tell yourself, us ex-addicts love to lie to ourselves. So I'm just trying to get through. I'm going to use these drugs while I'm here. I had a 4 flat that year, that time. I got out in 10 months, went right back to the same thing. Literally within 1 week, I had a couple bottles of pills, a couple pounds of weed, and an ounce of cocaine, and I was right back to work, doing the same thing I was doing to put me there.
Mm.
After the progression of what already started, of me dabbling into what I've had, it really started to escalate as time went by. So as I violated that parole, went back, had to max out that one, come back, catch another little stupid charge, go back, and in and out, I'm still behaving the same exact way.
Mm-hmm.
Gambling, fighting, contraband. what happened in 2011 was, as this escalated, this in and out, and my life sinking down deeper and deeper and deeper into darkness, more and more miserable, more and more sad, more and more angry, more and more frustrated at life, more and more addicted to everything and anything. In 2011, I caught a first-degree armed robbery, and it was really just a hustle or a scam gone wrong. But that's not what I got charged with. I got charged with a first-degree armed robbery. They offered me 19 years.
Because they had enough of you at that point? You've been in
I
enough
was a
time?
career criminal. That's
Right.
why I went to maximum security prison, because I was a career criminal. And that 19 years was, I think, what finally opened my eyes to, like, I was 30, I was in my early 30s, and I thought, I can't do 19. Something's got to give.
Right.
So what I did was, for all intents and purposes, I just got scared straight. I go, I have to do something differently. This is not working. I've been in and out of incarceration all this time. I don't know anything. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get myself out of this hole. What do I do? Now, as I'm having this kind of epiphany, this breaking point in this cell, light starts coming to me. Like, I start thinking, like, no one's here to help you. No one's going to save you. No one will answer your calls. No one will write you a letter. No one will come visit you. It must be you. It's not the world. It's not everyone around you. You must be the problem. It must be you. This is your fault. So this is when the ton of bricks hit. Because it was like, boom, this is my responsibility. I did this. No one did this to me. For all those years leading up until that point, I was playing the victim. It was his fault. It was her fault. It was my family's fault. It was the world's fault. It was the man's fault. This point now, when I realized I was my own problem, it was all my responsibility, and I was utterly alone. May seem like a sad moment for some people listening to this story, but not for me, brother. Because at that same moment, instantaneously, as I accepted the responsibility for my life, I now knew that the power that I had is what landed me here. And I also knew that I had the power to get out, and that was the start, dude. I had the power to get out. It was my responsibility to do so. No one was going to save me. Now I knew that it had to be me. It had to be my effort, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. All I knew was that I had to do something differently. So I'm going to tell you something funny. I was a fan of the show Seinfeld back in the day. It was a very funny show. We used to watch it after school, and George Costanza hit one of these points that I hit in that cell. I'm going to start doing everything opposite of my instinct. Right. So I operated in the George Costanza method for about 2 or 3 months. I go, whatever I think, I'm going to think the opposite. Whatever I want to do, I'm going to do the opposite. Whatever instinct that may arise, I'm going to fight it and do the opposite because I don't know what to do. But amazing. I know what I have been doing has led me to the worst possible scenario. Right. So the opposite, in logic, may lead me to something better. I got an opportunity to go to a volunteer program. It was inside the facility. I was still in prison, but it was a rehab of sorts. People that wanted to get better. They brought in NA, AA, and all these different things. And I landed a job, paid $2 a day in the pod as an inmate to speak like I'm speaking now. And I think this was the start of it. I learned through my pain and my suffering that I could help other people. And that's what really inspired me to do what I do today. But it never would have happened had I not said, I'm going to do the opposite to do. I never would have joined that rehab before. I never would have even thought of it. But when I went to that rehab, my cellmate in the door next to me brought me a book about meditation and yoga. And dude, that changed my life. When I started doing those two things, that's when I landed that job speaking. And I continue to meditate and do yoga to this day. It's a vital part of what I do to stay on a straight and narrow.
We have a lot in common. What's your meditation practice?
Well, I dip and dab a lot. For the longest time, I was doing Isha Kriya, which is a meditation by Sadhguru. And it really took me to a lot of deep places within myself and allowed me to calm myself throughout the day by repeating the mantra, I am not the body, I am not the mind. Now more I'm leaning back into my Christian faith. You know, I was raised Catholic and baptized. And through my meditations, through my practicing Buddhism, I come back to the truth. And my truth is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. and he's changed my life in ways that I can't even begin to articulate. But I still meditate to this day. I believe in the Eastern wisdom and what it can do for the unit of mind, body, and spirit, because that is the cause of a lot of our suffering and certainly a lot of addiction. Is that our mind's going this way, our heart's going this way, our loins are going another way. Our spirit wants something bigger. It wants something universal. It wants a creative energy, something a higher power. And
Right.
when we don't have this, we tend to try to fill that emptiness with everything of the world: drugs, sex, money, food, entertainment, enjoyment. And like I said before, at the end of the night, you're still just you and God. You're still in the dark with your thoughts and
Right.
God. And none of those things, no matter how comfortable you create your life or how many things that you have of the world, it will not bring you that lasting sense of joy and happiness and peace and contentment that meditation will, that yoga will, and that my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ will.
When and you know, it's funny because you say like you're in that cell at night alone with you and God, but there's nights where you don't know God's there. There's years like before, and that's alone. That's alone. So you're in the system, and so traditional psychology, social workers must have, and wasn't the answer for you? Question mark.
No, the problem was I wasn't really willing to open up to any of those
Or
people. And then,
or
to be
that
honest,
or
no, go
that
ahead.
stuff. Oh, sorry. Or that stuff just doesn't work for everybody.
I think that's part of it. I think it's part of it. I think that the system is also filled with people that um, are there because it's good money, it's good benefits. They don't always care. And then the good ones that do care, they get worn down because
Yeah.
they're there for years and years. They get desensitized to the violence. They get desensitized to the craziness. They get desensitized to people's circumstantial situations, and they see everything in a broad general view, and
Right.
they get told that like these people are criminal, they don't deserve this, they don't deserve that. And then the good people that you get, the rogue nurse or the rogue social worker that actually gives a little bit of a care, you are already jaded by the treatment that you receive from everyone else to be able to open up to them. And then them in turn, a lot of times are so desensitized to what they see, and they're very limited in what they
Right.
could do. Also, something that you mentioned that I think is of vital importance, and that's why I talk about it on Creating Greatness podcast all the time, is the self-responsibility and the ability to logically process information, methodically move through action, strategize and plot and plan the way that you're going to structure your minute, your day, your week, your month, however you need to do it, however short you need to make it. Because while my opinion strongly is that we need God or we need some higher power to balance us, there is a way to move through life and maneuver very effectively without it, in my opinion, at least in the beginning. But here goes the thing: if you learn to harness those powers and start moving your life forward in that way, it becomes a very beautiful and harmonious process. Life starts unfolding a little bit differently. And then once again, in my opinion, it'll lead you to God. It'll lead you to belief in something bigger, because you're like, this is not the life I was living before. Now that I'm doing things righteously, I'm acting correctly, I'm behaving in the right way, I'm I'm in accordance with nature. You'll start seeing that higher power in everything.
I was reaching while you were talking because I wanted to show you. You were talking about like how important it is to like manage your day, manage the hour, manage. So I still these are two composition notebooks that I use every day to get through. This is what I'm going to do this hour. These are my goals. These are what I thought. This is what I felt. This is what I'm going to not do. This is what I'm going to do. And that's it's so key what you hit on. And I love your journey because I'm hearing your journey as this. You're in a cell, and all of a sudden, the first thing that comes to you is agency. That like this has to be me, which I think is the first step for the majority of healing. Is whether it's you or not, it's always it winds up being you. If I'm going to heal, it has to be me. Then the second thing that you bump into is a spirit that when you do yoga, yoga is a spiritual practice. I'm telling the listeners, I'm not telling you because I know you know, but yoga was created to prepare you for meditation.
Yes.
Um, so all of a sudden you like feel a spirit, and you're like, wait a second, it's me and God in here at night. How did for you? And then we have so much in common. And then you go to Buddhism, and the idea of observing and not reacting. Just I'm just gonna look at it. And did meditate? Oh gosh, so many questions. Did what meditation? Tell me if this resonates with you. What meditation taught me is, because people think like when you meditate, you're not thinking. You think. You just
Yes.
manage it. Meditation is the art of part of meditation is the art of managing your thought. And so you have a thought, and then you let it go. Like, and for me, that was so key to learn. Like, wait, I'm crazy, and I have a thought. I don't. It's something I can let go. That's an option. I don't have to act on everything I think. I don't. I don't have to. I don't have to do what I'm thinking. I don't have to say what I'm thinking. I can just poof, let it go. And if you can do that when you're meditating, you can do that when you're, you can do that on the street, right? So, so question A is, does that resonate with you? And then question B is, when you get to, so you realize you have spirit, and you start to realize you have tools. How did that evolve into Christianity as opposed to any other practice or belief system?
Sure. Yeah. That's
That's the
I just
world's
wanted to.
that's the world's longest question.
No, it's absolutely fantastic, and I appreciate you for it, and I appreciate the thought that was behind it. You know, not every day I get invited on podcasts, but I do quite regularly. But very rarely do I have a conversation like this one of substance.
Oh,
This
good.
is important stuff here. This is a
Yeah.
lot of truths, and it's a lot of things that can help people. So let me go down the list because I wanted to give all your thoughts and comments the attention that it deserves.
Thank you.
First of
Sit
all,
back, listener.
you talked about the book that you had that you write all your lists in,
Yeah.
and we people who have had struggles managing our lives in the past, that's invaluable. I talk about lists all the time and how the list keeps me productive, and if I miss something, I prioritize it the next day, and it's just a revolving thing. It's a never-ending thing. I don't want to finish my to-do list because then my work's done and maybe I'll be gone,
Yeah.
because when I'm done doing God's work, I'm going to be done. But
That's a
having the
great way.
knowledge,
That's the best line ever. I don't want to finish my to-do list because then I'll be done. that's a that trademark that, sir. That's a great line.
yeah, well, I'll tell you, it's about the self-knowledge. You wrote those things down because I'm forgetful, or if I don't plan and structure my day, I might slip into something that I don't want to slip. So you write that stuff
Right.
down, and that comes from self-knowledge. Self-knowledge to me is one of the highest forms of knowledge, because even if you can't correct your behavior or correct your thoughts, you can know how to maneuver around them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm forgetful, I'm going to write it down. I know I like sugary treats, I'm not going to keep them in the house. I know I like these vices that are in these areas of town, I'm not going to go there. Simple as that. Maneuvering around yourself, enabling you to become more pure, become more righteous, to walk that narrow path that leads to success. So I think it's very important for the audience to get to that self-knowledge, that self-awareness. And you do that through meditation, and like you spoke of, and it is the training. The meditation is training. For me, number one, meditation was the defeating of my demons. Because a lot of people, you'll hear, oh, I started to meditate, I want to meditate, but I can't stop thinking. Or I even hear more often, everything that I don't want to think of, I think of. All the nasty, guilty, all the bad stuff, it all pops up to my mind, and I just can't take it. And to me, I can relate to that very much, because that's what happened to me. When I first started sitting down and meditating, I was in a 2-man cell, but I was fortunate enough to not have a bunkie during these times of my first few meditations. And what come to me was very violent, very pornographic images, violent images, drugs and destruction, guilt, all of the dark side of life, all the things that I experienced, all the things that I didn't want to face. And what it is the demons and the devil trying to fight you away, what's going to get you close to God. And if you get too uncomfortable and you will get beat by your demon, you get up, you can't do it anymore. You don't meditate. You now went to war, but you've lost. You went to battle, but you lost. You didn't lose the war, you went to battle, but you lost. So that happened to me the first couple of times. Once I sat through it and I faced it all, maybe 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I'm not sure how long it took. I was determined to face all of the nastiness and darkness within my soul without getting so uncomfortable that I wanted to run away, because you can't run away from yourself. Everything that's good and pure and everything that's nasty and dirty, they're all you. So denying one part of you, it's not going to be self-serving. But when I did that meditation and I sat through all those uncomfortable moments, seeing the darkness of my soul for everything that it is and accepted it, I won that battle with my demons. And I was able to make a huge breakthrough after that and meditate now without them visiting me. Now, am I under an illusion that I defeated them? No, they're doing push-ups right now, right there, right there, and right there. And they're waiting for me to slip up. All they need is a chink in my armor. What will provide them that chink? If I don't pray, if I don't meditate, if I don't do yoga, if I don't be kind, if I don't work out, if I don't exercise, if I don't, do the right things that I know I need to do, I'm creating a chink in my armor for my demons to swarm, and they will.
That is so.
That is meditation.
I got to interrupt you for 1 second because just because we so have that in common. I approach it a little bit differently. I think I have a chronic mental health condition. At one point I was diagnosed with like everything. So I think I have like a chronic mental health condition. So I treat it every day. I wake up going, okay, I got this today. I meditate for 20, I handwrite 3 pages, and then the rest of the day I make good decisions. And because just like you described, and you described it, it's there. And if I don't work out today, and if I don't meditate today, if I don't get it out of my body and I don't get it out of my mind, and I'm creating a space for bad decisions. And I love that you're disciplined like that.
That's what it takes, man. That's what it takes. And it all goes into what you're saying. Discipline creates freedom. People think discipline is restricting your life. Oh, you don't eat these things. You don't do these things. You only, eat at these times. You work out all the time. You won't do this. You won't go here. Well, that discipline to say no to all those things creates the freedom to live the life that I really want to live.
Yeah, man.
Which is peaceful and loving and content and having financial freedom and all these different things. All that freedom comes from me saying no. Not today, Satan, not today, Satan. And when you make these decisions over time, you build the life that you want. It's not one slip up. It's not one fall down. And that's what we do. I feel like people who live the life like us is they mess up and then they sink. No, mess up again. It doesn't matter. Get back up. Keep on going. Keep moving forward. And what you said about the thoughts, this is all attached to it, to discipline, to defeating your demons and doing the right things to stay away from them, is the thoughts. It all goes back to the thought. And before we started meditating, me specifically, every thought I had, I attached energy to it. I thought that thought was me. I thought that thought was my thought. I thought it might be a good thought. They weren't good thoughts. They were bad thoughts. They were awful thoughts. And now through meditation, I've created this system of like a dating app where it's like, oh, that's bad. Go. No, that's bad. No, that's bad. No. Oh,
you swipe left on your thoughts.
I like this one.
That's brilliant. You swipe left on your thoughts.
And they're not beneficial. That's right. They're not beneficial.
The dating app is a great analogy. No, swipe left, swipe left, swipe left. Oh, wait, swipe right. Yeah, beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
So it did resonate with me.
Oh,
but
good.
To answer the other question that you had, before we get too far away from it, how did I go from Buddhism to Jesus Christ? And I would love to tell you, and it's a really short story.
Please. Doesn't have to be short.
I worked through a lot of different religions in my time being incarcerated, obviously. What else do you really have to do? I was always around Muslims, either having bunkies or neighbors, always asked them loads of questions, always super curious. Read some documents about Muhammad. I got a little bit into the Quran, but I have to say I didn't go very far into it. I then transferred over and started reading some of the Bible. I read a lot of stories about Jesus. Once again, at that time, didn't really resonate with me while I'm sitting there in that cell. Then I went to the library and got some Buddhist material. It was donated by a Buddhist temple out of New York to Bayside State Prison where I was at. That manual, and I call it a manual, it wasn't anything but that, was another life-changing moment for me. Because as I said, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. So I just acted in the opposite of my instinct. And I went pretty far on that. But that's only going to take you so far. You still don't really know what to do and how to do it.
And who you are.
What I mean is how to do life, what to do in your life, how to do it with purpose and passion and all these different things. So that manual that I read, it was a Buddhist manual. It explained how to sit, how to breathe, how to stretch your body. And then you go into the Noble Eightfold Path where it was like having the right mind, the right meditation, the right thought, all these different things that go, okay, this is a laundry list of things that I need to do to improve the quality of my life. Say no more. And I went all into it, man. All into it. Practiced Buddhism for a very long time. Always benefited my heart. Always benefited my soul. Always benefited my actual physical life in the material world and spiritual one. Started my podcast because I was working at a job. I was a manager, giving all the employees the beat down all day long about how their life could be better and what things they could be doing to improve it. And one of the youngins there go, "You need to start a podcast, man." Okay, what the heck is a podcast? So I figured it out because at this point, I'm able to figure things out. I'm no longer a loser, sunken in misery and an addiction and all. I can figure something out. Got done the podcast and started talking to everyone. Hindus, gurus, meditation, Reiki, psychics, therapists of all kinds, scientists, doctors. Loved it all, enjoyed it all for the most part. You have some guests there here and there that you don't, but most of it always enjoyed. As I'm
I have
enjoying.
no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, you do. But
Yes,
I'm enjoying this conversation as well. And I went on a guy's show, a guy named Anthony Spencer. I still have him on my show. We do Bible study on Sundays. And he started talking about Jesus to me. I'm open. I'm open to all of it. I wasn't against it. I was raised Catholic. I was baptized Catholic. And something started happening to me that was pretty clear to me. And it wasn't any of the knowledge that I was receiving through reading the Bible, which I still do daily. I just was in Proverbs this morning. Great knowledge and wisdom in there for anyone, even if you're not a Christian. It is exactly what we're talking about, a manual for life. Had I known about Proverbs then, I may not have went into Buddhism so far, but thankfully I did because I cherished that time and I cherished that wisdom, cherished all the things that I learned there and still implement to this day.
Proverbs is called the Book of Wisdom.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm just learning about this. First time I got into it, we're doing it now.
Beautiful.
But when I started talking about Jesus Christ, it wasn't knowledge or wisdom or nothing. It was what's happening to me right now. It was goosebumps. It was energy. It was the Holy Spirit infusing me with things that I don't have. It's happening right now. I'm not making this up. Every time I talk about Jesus Christ, if I'm talking about him with an open heart, with an open mind, with a desire to know him, with a desire to allow his will to be done in my life and no longer having my own free will. When I talk about these things, when I talk about the glory of me that's only coming through the grace of God and the glory to him, I wouldn't be alive. I wouldn't be here being able to talk about what I'm talking about, where I'm talking about it at. And the chills, the vibes, the energy, and also the way that life flows when you start with the word. Now, I am an experiment at every different way to start your morning. I work from home. I have a small business. I do the podcast. I homeschool my children. That's a very difficult way to live for a person like myself who, like you said, if I don't have that rigorous structure in place, it's going to go bad. I'm going to overeat. I'm going to sink into a vice. I'm going to do something bad. I'm not going to work out. I'm going to fall apart eventually. It may take weeks. It may take months. I don't know. So I played with all these different ideas, like, okay, first I do this, first I do that, cold shower, meditate, sauna, all these different processes of how to start my day in the most effective and efficient way to set myself up for the maximum amount of productivity and success. I even did whole podcasts about all the different philosophies that I've explored through this 3 years of working from home and starting the business and doing the podcast. Just here recently, when we started doing Bible study, I would say it's about 2 months ago now, I starting my day with Jesus. I didn't go straight to the cold shower. Normally it was cold shower, breath work, meditation, exercise, and that works great. That will get you going. You'll be in a great mood. You have the dopamine flowing, serotonin from the cold shower, the toxins out of you from the sauna, and you'll go good. But never have I felt as peaceful, as content, as energized, as harmonious as I do when I start my day with the Word. And what this means is I wake up, as soon as I open my eyes, I thank God for life. I made it. I'm awake. I'm alive. This has given me an opportunity to do something good today. And then I move on. My children are alive. My wife's alive. We're all happy. We're making money. We have food. I think of all the things, and I get that gratitude amplified in my life. But it's God-given, so it's connected to God. Then I pray. I pray for all that, and I get into the Bible. I get into the Word. And when I start my day in that way, with thankfulness and gratitude and the Word of God, man, it's something very special. I mean, people go to church every Sunday and then they don't live the Word. They don't live the way that God wants them to live. They think that it's like, oh, I'm going to eat all this junk food, but then I'll go to the gym tomorrow. And then it doesn't really work.
Right.
And it's like, oh, I'm going to go to church on Sunday, but I'm going to sin all week until I can be forgiven. No, like we should be at war with sin. And what I mean by that is not just Christian. It's like when you're at war with your vices, you squeezing the waste out of your life. You streamline your success. You eliminate everything unnecessary and you live a much better life. And in this way, starting my day this way, it's been profound.
What's your greatest sadness?
My greatest sadness. Now that there's a question, sir. I will say this. I don't think enough about sadness to have one. If I thought about it long enough, I'm sure I could come up with it. But you remember, our energy flows where the mind goes. My mind stays on happiness, productivity, strength, and vitality, and health. Sadness comes, as it always does.
Yeah.
We're human beings. We have to learn to embrace the bad feelings without the good. Without being sad, without being angry, without being frustrated at times, we wouldn't know what it's like to be peaceful and content and joyous. Without rain, we wouldn't know what it's like to be so happy when the sun's out.
Right.
We as human beings, we always want to deny the good and I mean, deny the bad and live always in the good. But if the bad didn't exist, we wouldn't know what good is. So to answer your question, I don't really know. I haven't harped on sadness long enough. I guess here, talking about it now, it's come to me that I think there's people out there who suffer and don't know God's love and don't know their self-worth. And that hurts me. And that's why I do the podcast. I know people out there that suffer. I know people out there that don't feel like they're good enough. I know people out there that don't know how to do it, don't know how to live their life. They don't know how to manage it. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I do what I do.
And it does this resonate with you? It makes me sad that the people that don't know what to do. I can so relate to that phrase. People that don't know what to do. There's a system that you're taught that if you do that, it's going to fit you and you're guaranteed results and blah blah blah. But there are so many people for whom that system, traditional therapy, behavior modification, pick it, doesn't work. And that makes you double up on your failure because not only am I failing because I don't know what to do, but now they're telling me what to do and it's not working for me. So that doubles it up on you. And then I love talking to people like you who are brave enough to say, okay, well, I don't know what to do. this is what they're telling me to do, but this isn't working either. I just need a book and time by myself to figure it out, you know, for myself, and then finally arrive at at this place of great faith. That takes strength, man. You are a strong man.
Well, I appreciate you saying so, and I think that I say it a lot because that was really where I was, and why all the badness happened in my life is I didn't really know who I was.
Right.
I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, and I darn sure didn't know how to do it. In fact, there's affirmations that I listen to regularly. I do also encourage folks to listen to affirmations. Morning and night are the best times as you're slipping out of sleep and into it. The subconscious is more suggestible to those affirmations at those times. And Alpha Affirmations on YouTube is the one that I listen to. Don't mind giving him a shout out. He has a quote in it. It says, "You know what to do and you know how to do it." And he also says that I'm beginning to be effective in all aspects of life. To me, those were like profound statements. I mean, can you imagine? I'm effective in all aspects of life. There's nothing more powerful than that to me. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be effective in all aspects of life.
Right.
And I want to know what to do and I want to know how to do it. So something that I learned and something that I share. To me, it always goes back to the higher power. You talk about how we're getting all this information and maybe it's not working for us. There's two things of note there. One is most people that are trying to fix their life, they want a magic pill. They want
Right.
a free ride. They want someone to take them out of it and save them. It doesn't work that way. It never will. If you feel that way, then you need to go back to the drawing board. So when they're given something like prayer, meditation, yoga, a book to read, a class to take, a podcast to listen to, that makes them have to do work. And they're not really into that.
Right.
So there's number one. People say, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. You did it once. You meditated once. You prayed once. You did yoga once. You listened to one podcast. You think that's going to work? How many years were you living in degradation? You think you're going to pop out in 1 minute and go, okay, I'm healed. I'm done. No, it's a process. The whole process of life that you lived living badly, you have to now slowly rearrange and change that energy into living for good. Does it mean you're going to be happy and everything's going to be great? Of course not. In fact, it's probably going to get worse.
Right.
Because
Right.
now you're facing everything that you hid from, everything that you ran away from, everything that you didn't want to pay attention to, you didn't want to deal with. Now, sober, dead sober, it's all flooding back to you, and it hurts.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
Yep.
And it makes you want to go back. But this is the thing. Who are you and where do you stand? Who are you and what do you want to create in this world? Do you want to continue to create death and destruction with drugs? Or do you want to uplift yourself, uplift humanity, take care of the ones who love you and take care of the ones that you love? And to do that, there is a process and a procedure for anything in life. But there's no magic pill. There's nothing that's going to lift you out of your degradation. You have to do it. And the way that you do it is with your fingernails, by clawing and digging and scraping and working and being consistent and failing and effing up and messing up and getting up again and doing the same darn thing you were just doing. Because that is the way to change your life and heal your world and improve the quality of your life and everyone else's. So yes, we're unique, but we could take something from anything. Whether it's prayer, a book, a podcast, meditation, yoga, do it for 30 days. If it doesn't make a difference, then stop. I've started and stopped many practices that weren't effective in my life because we are different. We are unique and different things work for different people. In fact, whenever I listen to a podcast, I chew up the meat, I spit out the bone. What that means is I listen to everything that resonates with me, everything that I'm ready to receive, and what doesn't, I just leave it. I don't dismiss the whole value of the information that I was given. I just dismiss the stuff that I'm not ready for and I don't like. I take what I like. Anything else that we do, use what works, take what works, and tweak it. Any video I watch, any practice, meditation, or yoga that I do, I always tweak it. I make it my own, and a good teacher will tell you that. Listen to your mind, listen to your body. Focus on your breath. It knows everything that you're trying to find out. Your body already knows, man. It's written in our DNA. Our ancestors learned all the lessons we ever will need to learn, and it exists right here within us. We just need to get rid of the distractions, get rid of the phone, get rid of the internet, get rid of all the material possessions, get rid of the he said, she said, gossip, nonsense, the job, any of it. Not all the time, just for a little bit each day. Get rid of all that stuff and watch the clear, true voice of you and all the knowledge that you hold within you and within your DNA and all the cells within your body. It will start to be louder. And the more you silence out the distractions, the louder it will get. And if you start to listen to it, the more it'll speak, the louder it'll get. And as you move forward in that process, your life will get better and better and better.